career changes. So for the imposters out there, listen carefully. Welcome, Kiah.
Hi everyone, my name's Kiah, as Peggy just mentioned. So this is actually my first public speech ever, really. I mean, I did some debating in public school, but high school. Okay, so I am a current student at General Assembly, and I'm doing their web development immersive course. So basically that's a 3-month-long full-time course in web development. And this is actually my final week. So I will be seeking a career as a web developer shortly. So prior to General Assembly, I had no direct connection with the tech space. And I guess in terms of my career and working. So I'll start from the beginning, because I have had some connection with code. And it all started, I guess, when I was 14 years old, and there was this really great guy by the name of Tom, and he created MySpace. And a part of, I guess, MySpace was that you could edit your profile, and it was just simple HTML code. So I started looking at the code, and it was all very interesting, and I thought, oh, I wonder what will happen if I delete this div here, and what's a hexadecimal code, and you add these things in. So I started customizing my profiles, and before I knew it, I had these really neon colors, glitter, and all my favorite songs playing at probably simultaneously. So I guess that is where my direct relationship with code started. And also throughout high school I did IT, and it was very basic IT. It was like, how do you create a Word document? But I had a bond with computers back then too. So during high school, I guess it never really occurred to me that having a career in tech was, something for me, especially as a woman too. It wasn't as glamorous back then, I think, as what it is today. So, and when I say glamorous, I mean, we didn't have iPhones, and we didn't have apps, and we didn't have 20-year-old millionaires, just because they'd created some really cool app that we all use. And so I really like science, so I thought, well, what about if I do environmental science and law? So I applied to university for a double degree in law and environmental science, and I'm very ambitious, and it was the only course that I applied for. So when I didn't get accepted, I was like, holy shit, what am I going to do with my life? It's over before it began. And, I felt, really sorry for myself, I guess, for a couple of weeks. And I was like, what am I going to do with my life? So I ended up getting a business administration traineeship with a local company. And I guess that's where, it all kind of started. And I was thinking to myself, it's only temporary, right? I would use this as an opportunity to bridge that gap to get back to university and study something that I was passionate about and something that I felt I could make a difference in. And, next thing you know, 5 years go past, and you're still telling yourself, it's only temporary, right? And it's not. It's, you become complacent by that time, and you're really comfortable, and it's paying your bills, and, you can buy a cute dress every now and then, and that's fine. But I personally found myself getting really bored after about a year in any of those roles, and always feeling like I wasn't really doing anything great. So after a few roles as a legal secretary, a personal assistant, And then finally my last role as a corporate administrator, I thought, oh, you know, I'm reaching a dead end here and I'm not really doing anything of value. It's not challenging. And there's nothing wrong with these jobs, but for me personally, it just wasn't how I kind of envisioned my life to be. So this leads me to my defining moment. And it was, you know, just my luck that a role had come up internally, and the role was for an executive assistant to the COO, and I was like, great, this is my chance to get some career progression and get a pay rise and, you know, finally make that step towards something a bit bigger, a bit better. And, you know, I called a meeting with the COO and I sat down, and I was already doing some work with him, and I was doing some data analysis and some reporting, and I sat down and I said, look, I'm interested in applying for the job. And he said, yeah, perfect, you're perfect, you know, we're already working together, you know, and I was like, oh wow, this is great, like what a great response. I was like, this is so easy. So sure enough, that afternoon, he gave me his personal tax records, gave me his contact details for his tax accountant, and said, oh, can you just send these off for me as his unofficial executive assistant? And at that point I was like, wow, that was absolutely so easy. You know, I haven't even had an interview yet and he's already calling me his, you know, executive assistant. So anyway, I go for the formal interviews, and it's corporate, so you have a couple of interviews, and anyway, at the end of it, I didn't end up getting the role. And I was a little bit shocked, only because because they'd given the role to someone who was double my age and double my experience. And the expectation was just that, you know, I would be a suitable candidate, but I wasn't. And so I called my boyfriend, who's there, and I said to him, you know, they didn't give me the role. And the first thing that comes out of his mouth was, well, do you really want to be 40 and only just considered for a role like that? And I paused for a minute, and my response was basically along the lines of expletive no. You know, I want to be running a company at that age, you know, or early retirement, that's the dream, you know. So he said, come over and we'll do some passion exploration. So I had no idea what passion exploration was. I'd never done it before, and I'd never had someone that was actually interested in doing this with me. So I thought, oh, you know, I'll go over, you know, I'm feeling a bit down, and see what comes out of it, you know, not really expecting much. And we're sitting there for about an hour and a half and throwing ideas out there. So I like cooking, maybe I could create a YouTube channel doing cooking tutorials, or, you know, I like fashion, so why don't I go back to school and do fashion design? And, you know, I'd been doing some freelance graphic design, so I thought, well, you know, maybe now's the chance to go and get some formal training in graphic design. And they didn't spark any true interest. They didn't, like, continue from that point on. And I guess I was ready to just give up for the night. I was, you know, thank you for your time, but no thank you attitude. And I said to him, you know, well, I like your industry. And his industry is the tech space. And so I briefly mentioned earlier on that I did some HTML coding. Well, he remembered that too. And he said, well, what about web development? And I thought, you know, what even is web development? And he was like, okay, we'll have a chat about it. So we talk about web development, and he mentions General Assembly. And, you know, we looked at the website, we did some research, and at that point in time, I had like a ginormous smile on my face. I had like a huge light bulb moment, and you know, I had all these big ideas in my head about, you know, what possibilities that this could open up. And surely enough, I applied online, had a phone interview, did some online tutorials, and then I was accepted into General Assembly. And then what happened? Well, then I had an interview, and did I already say I got accepted? I got accepted. And so I got accepted, and I thought, wow, this is great. And then you have this moment. You're like, oh my God, reality check. I need to quit my job, and I need to have a budget, and I really need to organize my life in preparation for this. And it can all be really stressful, because if you've never had to do it before, it's like a big shock, because not only are you doing something completely new and you're putting yourself in an environment that is completely foreign, you know, you have all these other things on top. So I'll fast forward to November, and this is our orientation night, and Gigi, who is one of our education producers, I guess you would call her, basically puts this graph up as one of her slides, and she says to us, you know, this can happen on any given day, at any given time. And I thought to myself, oh, you know, this is fine, you know, I've got this, you know, I don't stress out. And they were definitely my famous last words, because on my very first day, I am pretty sure I experienced this 3 times in a row, and then consecutively for the past 11 weeks that I've been doing this course. So that leads me, I guess, to the challenges part. And, you know, I briefly mentioned it before, but this is everything from budgets to making new friends, and, you know, managing your relationships. They're all really real factors. So I reconciled my funds, and I sold my car, and I had to have a set amount of money to live off for the next 12 to 16 weeks. And, you know, I have to do a grocery shop once a week and have packed lunches, and this is, you know, a strict budget. And for me, I wasn't as organized prior to this, so that was a bit of a shock. But I think once you realize that what you're kind of setting out to achieve is, you know, something that will have such a big impact on your life, these things are just minor, and it's temporary, and, you know, they hold no real significance in the big scheme of things. So I guess another big challenge, and especially for me, because this General Assembly is like a completely new experience, and it comes with its own challenges specific to, I think, General Assembly maybe. But we also have to get along with, you know, 14 other very different human beings, and they're all at different stages of their life too. And, you know, we are together 5 to 6 days a week, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. sometimes, even later. And most of the time it's in a really stressful situation, because we're all in the same boat. We're all learning something new, and we're all struggling personally as well, trying to find our purpose in this whole scheme of things. So this is really good, I guess, because you really form strong relationships with these other people, and, you know, you're inspired by them too, because everybody brings something different to the table, and you're encouraged to just keep going. And it's really positive, and that's really great. But I think realistically, we're all human beings, and we all have our bad days. And I think it's important to understand that, you know, the opposite of all these really great things can happen too, and that's just life. But, you know, it's just how you deal with that, and you just keep moving forward. throughout the course, I have felt a broad spectrum of emotion, and most of the time it's been, you know, happiness and excitement, and I guess, you know, it's really opened up my mind in terms of what opportunities are available to me and what I feel I can achieve personally now. So, I guess, you know, it's backed up by the fact that, you know, I'm confident that I've got the skills now to execute these ideas, but also the fact that, you know, this is a community that really, you know, pulls you in and supports you, and, you know, you're also passionate as well, and you want to see other people excel, and I think that's a really good part of this experience. So, I guess, as a result of this, like I said before, I like fashion and creative, and I've been able to kind of combine the two, technology and fashion. So I'm becoming increasingly more excited and involved about LED wearables and the Internet of Things. And I have actually, so there's a company called Cute Circuit, and they're a European fashion brand, I guess. And I think they're the only one that does this like haute couture type LED stuff, whether you're interested or not. However, for a side project, I will not be creating something as magnificent as that, but I am going to create an LED wearables dress, and just using some like Adafruit components. And it's all very accessible and easy. But prior to, you know, immersing myself into the tech space, you know, I wouldn't have thought that that would be possible. So I guess that's just something that, you know, I'm interested in and would like to continue to pursue. But I'll wrap it up because, and just summarize, if you are thinking of completely changing your career, sit down with someone who you trust and someone who, you know, values your development as much as you do, and just throw ideas out there. Like, they could be really crazy, but it doesn't matter because that kind of inspires, you know, another idea, and you can keep going. And when you do find something you're interested in, do some research, you know, make sure you're aware as well financially, like what are the implications of that? How long will it take to obtain this new skill? And, you know, what are your opportunities after you have obtained skill? And of course, plan so that you're not so shocked when you realize, you know, all of this stuff is happening. And then execute your plan. And I've put go for it, girlfriend, but there are some guys in here, so go for it, boyfriend. But just do it. This is the best choice that I've ever made. And, you know, you can sit there for years and you can say, oh, you know, this is only temporary. And you can sit there and you can say, oh, well, when is this going to change? And, you know, it's up to you to make that change. And, you know, there are external factors, but if it's something that you're really passionate about and it's something that you want to do, you make it work. And, you know, you get people around you who support that idea too. And I think that kind of wraps it up. Thank you. I also have a blog and Twitter and LinkedIn and a GitHub and whatever, but my code's not that great. Well, no, it's good if anyone wants to employ me. Yeah, so if you wanted to get in contact, feel free to, because I'm really interested in, you know, everyone else's story. Everyone has a story, and we're all here, you know, working toward the same thing, but we all have very different circumstances, and they're equally as important as anyone else's. So that's all I have to say. That's it. Thank you. Any questions? Yeah. Questions? Any questions? You can tweet me.
Thanks, Kiah.
Thanks, Peggy.